last challenge in the first draft of the final motor control setup is the actual motor control potentiometer. This thing has a custom designed housing for the trolling motor that it was in. This connected to the tiller handle to turn it. It's a kind of a strange little knob. It has these mounting points that are in an awkward place. So I could design and 3D print something to mount this in a sexy little box. But that's also kind of a big project in and of itself, and I want to be able to use this setup in a few days. So I got to looking at this thing, what it would take to use it fairly easily. And what I realized is that this funny knob thing comes off, and that's just a typical 1/4 inch potentiometer shaft with a flat on one side. So a knob to fit that ain't no thing. Now how do I mount it? That part isn't as easy. It's held together with these two wood screws in the bottom. But the screw holes go all the way through. And they're about 2.5 millimeters in diameter. And that's just about right to thread in an M3 machine screw. And that happens to work out pretty well. Now I can't demonstrate it for you because that's the way it goes. Something like that. So now I can mount it. And I have a couple of different options. I can mount it flush with this surface and use some standoffs here. Or I can mount it flush with this surface and use a shorter screw. I don't know which way I'll go yet. So what do I mount it to? Well, you know, I would much rather have beloved relatives in my life, but when they pass on, sometimes they leave behind cool stuff. One such cool stuff is this aluminum enclosure. Comes with this nifty seal so that it's waterproof. And it's kind of almost the right size for a control enclosure. It's a little bit big for something that I'd want for this. Certainly awkward to hold in the hand, but it's something I can use quickly and as a proof of concept. Another challenge with this is that, okay, so I add this box. Well, I'm accumulating boxes on the Kayak that have different things in them. Electronics and such. What could I do to consolidate that? Well, I made precisely the same decision with this. Oh. What I did with this. The monitor for the battery box. Printing something would be a long and protracted and challenging project that I didn't want to take on right now in the middle of this other project. So I used one of these electronic project boxes. And you know, I thought that the box was a little bit too big for that at that time. But maybe it's not too big for both. Maybe. Let's find out. I'm not going to snap that all the way back in just yet, just in case I need to pull it out again. Didn't fight me quite as hard as I thought it might. Alright, this thing. So if I'm looking at it this way, if it's mounted on one of the accessory tracks or something like that, I suppose I'd probably want the throttle knob on the top. Something like yaw. Turning my throttle like a badass. Man, I'm gonna go forward. I'm gonna turn it this way. Yep. I'm gonna go forward. Yeah. Oh, go a little faster. Yep. Turn all up there. Yep. Oh, nope. Too fast. Nope. Stop. Back up. More back up. Back up. Crashing. One thing that I wish this had, that I don't know how to add just yet, is some kind of a detent, some kind of tactile haptic feedback that indicates center and the neutral off position. I don't have that, and I'm going to sorely miss it, but I may still be able to figure something out. given this thing some quick point-to-point continuity checks between the motor connections and those in the box and those in the battery box, and everything checks out. So I think I can power it up. And the piezo buzzer that I put in there is not a piezo buzzer. Apparently it's a speaker, because it sounds like what the speaker would sound like if I assumed it was a buzzer. So I'll need to replace that. Voltage is looking good. The motor is not turning. Can you see that? I don't think you can see that. Oh, come on. There. Okay. Try to get this in the image as well. So, motor's not turning, so I'm in the dead band. I'm going to turn it this way. And it's turning backward. And it sounds like a brushless motor, so it probably is. Going through its harmonics. I'm going in reverse here. It's maxed out. Alright, back to the dead band. So, the dead band is actually pretty substantial. It's like 10 degrees. I was afraid that was going to be too sensitive without a detent and that I was going to hate it, but I think it's going to be okay. Now I'm going forward. Not bad. So the only thing I don't like about it is that it's the control, the forward and reverse control is reversed from what is intuitive to me. So I might reverse the two end terminals on this potentiometer here. Switch that around. For the moment, this is working. Now what I've committed myself to doing by combining the battery monitor and the throttle in this one box is doing something different with the battery monitor cabling. At present, the plan is to take a short run over here to this connector, but from there, because I'm putting, let me reposition this again. Because I'm putting throttle over here, I'll probably need to bring the complement to this jack out over here somewhere. If I had planned to do it this way from the start, I would have just run both of these as one cable and not have to dick around with this. But I didn't, so now I have to dick around with it. What I'm about to do here is going to violate the round cable ideal that I've tried to uphold. I'm going to take both of these cables pretty much as they are into this connector, which, like the others, has the circular cable gland. It's not going to be super watertight because of that, but I'm in a position right now where I just need to make some things happen in order to be able to make my next fishing trip in a couple of days. So I'm going to do this and just let it be a work in progress, and as I mentioned earlier, just get some time on it to see how I like it, see how it works, and then look at revisiting it maybe next season to do some refinement. this up and lose access to it, I want to do just a quick system test to make sure all this business is going to work. I've already done a point-to-point continuity check between points in the box, in the motor, and in the battery box, just to make sure there are no shorts and I didn't cross the streams anywhere. I want to do a functional test now. Alright, power on. Got power here, voltage looks good, capacity 100%. Oh, and I changed the knob, and the knob puts the center mark at a different point, so I had to redo my marks on here. So I'm hoping that's not going to be too awkward in use. Alright, so forward. That's working. Reverse. And everything reads correctly, so I think it's all hooked up right. Which is good, because I'm running out of time before my next outing and starting to get a bit nervous about it. And that is why I have skipped over parts of this in the recording. I just needed to make stuff happen and just like go on it. So the last thing then for this part is to attach this back to the hull, and I'll put 2 temporary pop rivets in this plate. I'll need to get it out again in order to do the wiring from this plug up to the fish finder and USB charging jacks. I just finished what was probably my last fishing trip of the season, and the first full system test, including the trolling motor that I modified for the purpose of using on this kayak, which is a Haswing 65-pound thrust motor with a brushless motor. And it worked brilliantly. I'm super chuffed about it. I was able to troll at 25 watts, and that's pretty awesome as far as power efficiency, and the thing will move. This thing will really move, and it won't get up on plane, but it hauls. And it has really made it evident that my temporary motor mount here is going to be woefully inadequate. That much thrust is way too much for it. What I have left to do here this season, finish the wiring from this connector. I need to run this forward to a couple of USB charging jacks and a fish finder jack. It's only temporarily riveted down here with 2 rivets. So I need to fabricate and install another couple of panels forward for that. There's a little bit of work yet I need to do to the trolling motor, entirely cosmetic. I'm on the fence about whether or not I'm going to shorten the shaft. It sticks up much farther than is necessary, but I may still want to play with the height a little bit, so I might leave it. The housing on top, I ultimately want to get rid of it because there's nothing in it except some wire connections. But that's a bigger project. I might put it off till later or till never. But right now there is kind of a big hole in the front of it that I want to patch. So I'll rig something up for that. And after I started building these panels, I realized that I could get black pop rivets instead of these natural aluminum ones that I kind of tried to paint black and didn't work. So I'm going to drill all of these out and replace them with the black rivets so that it looks less stupid. The USB charging jacks I'm talking about are these. Pretty simple, straightforward. I have 2 of them. And the fish finder power jack is this. Another one of these little waterproof connectors. Hold it where you can see it. Probably helps, right? I have very little real estate here that I can actually work with to mount anything. I think I'll put a pair of these here on a little panel and just one of these up here on a panel.
I want to give you a quick recap of where the project is. I've had to rush through the last bit of it because I'm out of time. I'm out of good weather and just plain out of time to work on it. As you can see, I've had the first good rain of the season, and with that, my window of opportunity for outdoor projects is closed. The current state of the project. Battery box is essentially done. There are a couple of minor things that I'd like to tweak on it. Through-hole wiring. That is, all of these connections are done. This connection, done. and this connection is done. Things not complete. This motor mount is temporary. I intend to fab my own out of aluminum stock. The winter break will give me an opportunity to practice my welding so that I can cobble something together that I can at least stand a look at. Also incomplete is this front where I lopped off the tiller handle from the motor. I need to do something that's at least cosmetic across the front of that, but something that would seal is probably better. Sorry about all the background noise sources. Between the humans and the other animals in the neighborhood, there's always something going on. I want to talk to you a little bit about things that are not yet complete. So after I changed this cable to this connector here instead of the two that it previously had, I'd like to do the same with this end using only one of these connectors and one cable. I actually have two discrete cables in here. The cable that I bought for this already is garbage and I don't want to use it. It's not suitable for outdoor use. Anything else is going to have a long lead time. I may pick at that a little bit over the winter if I'm so inspired. I don't know. One part of this that I almost forgot to touch on is the steering. I had this completed, or mostly completed, very early in the project, even before I had the battery box complete, because it's kind of a critical component to keep the Kayak in use. So, I bought a rudder kit for the Kayak that uses these two foot pedal steering devices. And they turn the motor. Rigging up this linkage was a non-trivial exercise, and I think that's why I need to touch on it. So this bracket, this pivot here, whatever the hell you want to call it, came from Yak Gadget LLC. It clamps onto the motor shaft and it provides a lever arm for turning the motor shaft. Adapting some kind of linkage to connect to the Kayak's rudder cables, it was something that took a lot of thought. So I've got a screw eye here, stainless screw eye, and the hole inside this pivot thing is too large. It's in between this size and this size. And so I've sleeved it with a few different concentric sizes of stainless tubing so that this doesn't wiggle around a lot. It's not tight, it doesn't bind, but it constrains its movement to something reasonable. I was unable to find any kind of a clevis that would fit this. So I had to design my own, and I wanted something that was a quick release, so I've used this little quick release pin here. And the reason for that is I can't tip the motor up with these connected. The geometry just won't support it no matter what I try. So I've got these little quick release clevises here. And so far that's worked out pretty well. And it took a lot of head scratching to reach this point. So I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out, I think. And I thought I should mention something about it for anybody who's struggling with the same thing.